What's going on, Borderlands fans, or should I now say Tiny Tina Wonderlands fans? So today we're actually going to be doing a breakdown of the official announcement trailer and also doing an analysis on what actually happened at the Summer Games Fest and E3. It's an amalgamation of all the information that I have collected. I'm going to be putting it in this video of what I think is going to happen in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands and also some of the characters, weapons, powers, all sorts of things. So what we're going to do to begin with is look at the official announcement trailer and start breaking it down and doing an analysis. So let's get going. Right off the bat, we see and hear a growl and also an eye opening straight away. Very red flame. That's what I'm getting from it. Flame, which actually from the E3 developer overview, straight away we get right into it. 50 seconds into the actual clip, fire dragons. I'm going to let the actual dev talk about it and then we're going to do a bit of an analysis.
So we're absolutely excited to talk about all of our new enemy types. So that is one of our wyvern enemies.
That's one of their new enemies. As you can see, this is possibly that exact dragon. This is more of an actual concept art, it seems. And as you can see, the dragon is in some type of armor. As you can see, the dragon's tail looks like a mace. Now, dragons throw their tails around all the time, so maybe you have to kind of dodge it, either like shoot the armor to then break the armor off to then kill the dragon. We don't know yet, but that's something to actually think about. Let's continue and see what else she says.
You will absolutely be fighting them.
So we are
They're
fighting
not
them.
your average wyvern. So of course we've got
Now, what we saw in Assault on Dragon Keep, which is the Borderlands 2 Tiny Tina DLC, we saw 4 dragons, which was the ancient dragons of destruction. So maybe it's something linked with that. Right here, as she says,
goblins.
they've got goblins. Now, this to me, if you think of Mount Rushmore with the president's faces, the president's heads on, this to me screams that. This seems to be a higher up goblin, like the Goblin Lord, Goblin King. So it's got his face carved into a mountain. So they're not your average goblins, as she goes on to say. Apart from that, there's not much else in this actual developer overview. It wasn't very long at E3, but I was able to get at least some information out of that. So we're going to be getting new types of enemies, which I'm just about to show you in a second, which is this right here. This is a screenshot from one of the Tiny Tina Wonderlands concept arts of new enemies. Now, if you remember on Assault on Dragon Keep, there were skeletons when you came from the boat itself. You then got onto the land, then all of a sudden Tiny Tina switched things up and you were attacked by skeletons. Now, if I just shift this over just slightly, you'll be able to see the skeleton is holding a shield. The skeleton is also got purple eyes, so it's either possessed or possibly the element of Iridian, which obviously is slag. The other one seems to be holding some sort of staff, so it's possible that they have powers. It's a fantasy land, just like Assault on Dragon Keep, where we had wizard skeletons and all sorts of things like that. This area does look pretty cool. It looks like we're possibly inside a castle, so that is pretty awesome right there. So the next thing we're actually going to be doing is looking at this, which I will mute that. So this is from the Twitch Gaming Q&A with Matt Cox.
A lot of the things that happen in our game come from the chaotic mind of Tiny Tina. So we span classic fantasy looks and some just crazy and mysterious fantasy looks as well. But this environment, you see this gorgeous castle, the gorgeous lighting and the bridges, and really get to be immediately immersed in what seems like classic fantasy. And so we really wanted people to understand that. And of course, well, here's a screenshot of the man himself, the tyrant, the dragon lord. So
what he's just said there, the tyrant and the dragon lord, That is his title, the Dragon Lord, the Tyrant. As we knew that Jack was the Tyrant of Borderlands 2, this is the Dragon Lord. And as you see right here, I noticed two things right off the bat. He's in his left and right arm. Now, he's got a flaming sword, which is the fire element. So that is literally one of the elements of Borderlands. And we also see what possibly looks like shock element. So it's possibly that he's multi-element. We also see he looks pretty damn tall. He's also got wings, different pieces of armor. And also, if you look at this screenshot here, if you look at the left-hand side, that's also what he looks like in his, I would say, normal armor. This looks like his battle armor, because it definitely looks different. He's not wearing the big, massive, like, skeleton chest piece that probably protects his core. So obviously this looks more like his chilled out, I'm a badass lord type outfit. And this is his, I'm going to beat the crap out of you, badass looking tyrant outfit. So that looks pretty cool. They don't talk much about anything else apart from that. So that's literally what we get out of that is new areas that look like Assault on Dragon Keep with the whole castle. And then we also get the absolute badass of a tyrant, the Dragon Lord. Now, excuse me. The next thing we're going to do is continue on with the trailer itself. Notice a hammer coming down on a weapon. That's number one. That's the first time that happens. There's the dragon, or one of them at least. That's number two.
It soars on the wind. It rises from the grave.
It rises from the grave. This comes back to skeletons. As I said, in the Assault on Dragon Keep, skeletons come out from the ground, skeletons come from the boats. So it seems that skeletons, it's a fantasy land. It's very Tiny Tina's mind, as Matt Cox said. It's literally from the mind of Tiny Tina. So I feel like it's going to be, because it's based on Bunkers and Badasses, which is a take on Dungeons and Dragons. I feel like it's going to be very cross-linked with Assault on Dragon Keep. There you go. Hammer on a weapon again. That's forging.
It stalks the ocean floor.
Now, this looks crazy. This, if I can pause it correctly.
It stalks the ocean floor.
Now, this looks crazy. As you can see, it looks like a half man, half shark, or a shark mutant style enemy. Now, as we just said, Tiny Tina, crazed mind, fantasy land. So it's possibly we're going to be seeing different types of enemies that are mutated, different things like that. But this looks like possibly a big enemy that you have to fight. There you go, hammer on a weapon again. Right here, as we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 forged. So 7 flames, and the actual character, as you see right in the middle, seems to be hammering onto a weapon. This leads me on to thinking about Iridian and actual forging. So it's possible you can either forge with Iridian, because don't forget Iridian is purple, hence the purple flames. Or we get to see not just Iridian forging, but forging different weapons, making new weapons, putting 2 weapons together to make an ultimate weapon, maybe having different elements for weapons. So like in Borderlands 3, where you could switch between like corrosive, radiation, all of that. Maybe it's a form of that type of weapon forging. We got a quick sneak peek of what the weapon is. We now actually look at one of the characters with one of the dragons behind him.
You cannot hide from fate. But you can make your own.
but you can make your own, which literally confirms my point is there's going to be weapon forging in the game. Now, as you see, 6 barrels right there, so it's possible you put 2 weapons together, and if we zoom out, as we see the zoomed out bit right there, it seems like you're shooting an automatic weapon, but if you actually look at the belt feed, that doesn't look like automatic. That doesn't look like small caliber bullets. That looks more like grenade launcher style belt feeded bullets, or you would call them something else. But that looks pretty cool, and hopefully weapon forging is a thing. Now we get to see the main characters and the voicing actors. Now, I had to do a double take at this. This, to me, looks like possibly action skills, because, as we know in Borderlands, each character has a different action skill. This, to me, looks very siren powers, where you can make a shield, because if you see in a second, he's got something out in one hand while shooting with the other, and as you see in a second, makes it bigger, and then puts it in front of the dragon to then block the dragon's attack. As you see right there. Now, looks away, and this is where some other information that I tried to find, it was a bit difficult because they're not really giving much away, but this also in the Twitch gaming Q&A, Matt Cox also spoke about what's just about to happen. So Butt Stallion is back. It's Tiny Tina's mind again. We just saw Butt Stallion absolutely destroy the dragon, but what we'll hear in a second is this from Matt Cox, which is the creative director for Gearbox Software.
Well, I love that we see that magical diamond binacorn just jump in and save the day in this trailer, but I can't really reveal too much about how Butt Stallion plays into the game, but I am very excited for people to explore and experience how Butt Stallion fits into our story.
So, Butt Stallion is actually going to be in the story itself, which they aren't telling us how it's going to fit in, but it seems that we are going to be having actual Butt Stallion possible missions, stuff like that, which leads me on to new characters. As you see right here, we have maybe a character that is playable or an NPC. So if you just look at him, he looks like he's just got some armor on. I can't tell if those look like badges or what from that. He's got like some armor bandolier, some bullet bandolier on the side of him. He's carrying a bunch of things. Looks like a character that you could possibly play. But if we go over here, obviously we saw this before with the Tyrant on the left-hand side, but on the right-hand side, we get some sort of robot, which looks like it's possibly another protagonist. So maybe you can play as the robot. We have no clue yet. They haven't really released any information on who you can play, who you can't play. Is it an NPC? Is it not? But from looking at the other Borderlands games, obviously this isn't Borderlands. This is a complete separate fantasy world. But Tiny Tina loves robots. So hopefully this is possibly a playable character. And maybe we'll see what their action skill is in the future. But that is quite a big possibility of what we can play. There's the Dragon Lord himself again. But let's continue on with the trailer. Now, I looked at this and thought, well, it's a very strange actual font to use. But then I thought, actually, it's not, because we were doing forging of weapons before, blacksmithing, medieval. So this looks like the font is actually blacksmithed. And then I looked at the sword. The sword to me looks very familiar. Now, if you remember Assault on Dragon Keep, where Roland was still alive because Tiny Tina wanted Roland to survive, and he was in a knight outfit, and Roland actually had this sword, kind of like the King Arthur's sword. So maybe this is a hint that possibly Roland could possibly be in it, because it's in the crazed mind of Tiny Tina. She wants Roland to stay alive. We actually don't know where this fits in with the actual universe with Tiny Tina. So we will find that out in the future.
Roll for initiative, suckers!
Roll for initiative. That's literally on Assault on Dragon Keep. They do that to literally start the DLC. So I'm hoping that because it's Fantasyland and it's bunkers and badasses, she is literally the bunker master. So whatever she says goes. So hopefully it is kind of like a tribute to that. The last thing I'm going to say on this is another dragon. So that's dragon number 2. It's got purple eyes, so it's definitely going to be a slag dragon, which, if I keep coming back to it, leads me to believe that the ancient dragons of destruction are possibly still a thing. We shall know more in the future. And then we get the release date, which is early 2022, which is basically Q1 of next year. And that's where I'm actually going to leave it. So we've gone through new enemies, the Dragon Keep, like the castle, who the new main boss is, like the Tyrant, possibly weapon forging, obviously new characters, powers like action skills, but Stallion, Roland. Obviously we've got hints back at Assault on Dragon Keep from the DLC, the dragons, different elements, obviously the release date. So that has been quite a lot of information taken out of not very big clips. So hopefully we get to know more coming towards the end of this year before next year. So I will definitely be doing another breakdown of that. So I am Wrath. I'm very excited for another Gearbox game, well, that is around the world of actual Borderlands, Pandora, all of that. So I thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.